From the MZ Studios, Dallas Virtual Studios in cyberspace, this is Deconstructing Dallas. Greetings, everyone. It's your host, Ryan Trimble, hanging out, doing a little work, doing a little homeschool dad action. Joined today by a man who always likes to tell his story. He is, of course, Shawn Williams. Shawn, good day, sir.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's actually me that's always telling you stories, it seems, and so I appreciate your always open ears.
Well, yeah, man. This is we are getting into a historical part of the year. I mean, it's November, so obviously it's Scorpio season, so that's like first and foremost. But you know, this is also a month when here in Dallas we commemorate, we memorialize, we think about the assassination of JFK, and we're as the recording of this episode, we are coming up on another anniversary of that event.
Yeah, 57 years to be exact, Shawn, and it's amazing. I feel like we were just watching former Mayor Mike Rawlings give the 50th anniversary remarks on that cold, frigid day. I'm
Very
sure
cold day.
I hope you were bundled that day, Shawn.
Very cold. I had not long before that transitioned into over to DPD.
Yeah.
So I started kind of in the initial planning stages, but eventually was a frigid observer of the event.
Yeah. Well, it was quite a day. I was there with my former boss, former state representative Dan Branch.
About to take a drink here. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, all
right. Go ahead.
I was there with my former boss, former state representative Dan Branch, and loved being a part of that day. It was a great moment for our city. But Shawn, I have always chewed your ear off about this certain project related to that day. This was the swearing in of President Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson, who was sworn in, of course, on the tarmac at Love Field. And Chairman Branch and I worked on this project to try to commemorate it, and kind of wanted to have him on today to visit about that. It's been a while, but we wanted to share with our listeners this story.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that conversation with Chairman Branch. I should take a second to say I am going to suspend my always take a drink when you mention Chairman Branch, because I would not be able to make it through the episode. So although I did start it here in this first segment, I will suspend that for this episode.
Well,
smart. When I moved to Dallas, well, JFK, the movie came out when I was in college, probably like a junior or something like that. And I remember watching that and basically accepting every scene and every line of that movie as fact.
Yeah.
And so I came to Dallas a little bit conspiratorial, I will say.
Okay.
But I was convinced when I moved here that it would only take me a few trips to Dealey Plaza, just a couple of passes through the grassy knoll, and I was convinced I was going to figure the whole thing out.
You had it all figured out, huh, Shawn?
I knew that moving to Dallas would allow me to solve this huge conspiracy. Didn't quite turn out that way, but I have always been pretty fascinated by it. I mean, the further we get away, it's not quite the same, but I will tell you that I do have my most viewed YouTube video was taken on November 22nd, 2008, on the 45th anniversary of the assassination. And I traced Lee Harvey Oswald's footsteps through Oak Cliff after the Kennedy assassination. And I tell you, I still get comments from that video, and it's been by far my most watched YouTube video.
Well, that is why you are the legend known as Shawn Williams. So, I know you're a big history buff. Thank you for your service with the Dallas Historical Society. Certainly appreciate your love for history.
I have always had a passion for history. you got to tell your story. If you don't, somebody else will. So you need to make sure to preserve that history.
Yeah.
But the assassination has gone through periods where people in Dallas obviously did not want to talk about it. There was a point in time where any reference to it, the city kind of tried to sweep under the rug. But it really is something that, fortunately, the city did come around to make sure that they gave respect to the president who did lose his life here by lifting up his life. And then I think it's a very important. It's very important to take as many parts of that day as you can to celebrate the heroism that went on, i.e. J.D. Tippit and Oak Cliff, who also lost his life on that day. And then, as we'll talk about with Chairman Branch, the transition of power to President Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who will flippantly say that Dallas has no history. Well, I humbly disagree. This is one of the most important moments in American history, this peaceful transition of power from one president to another during a real tragic time. Also of note, Sarah Hughes, the first woman to administer the oath of office to a president. So really, this moment is a very important moment in American life and happened right here in our city. So excited to get into this more with Chairman Branch. And so, Shawn, without further ado, let's jump into a break and come back with Chairman Dan Branch, former State Representative Dan Branch. This is Deconstructing Dallas. Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams. Stick with us.
Visit the historic and eclectic Deep Ellum neighborhood on Saturday, November 27th to celebrate Small Business Saturday. Since 1873, Deep Ellum has been associated with an incredible range of unique businesses. Today, the district is home to independent businesses, mom and pop shops, and local startups. These businesses are critical to the one-of-a-kind experience that is visiting Deep Ellum. Whether you are getting an early start on your holiday shopping or are simply looking to explore, the neighborhood has a spot for you. With hundreds of independently owned shops, restaurants, bars, galleries, and more, there's something for everyone in Deep Ellum. Don't forget to shop small in Deep Ellum, where you'll find something for everyone on your holiday shopping list the Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 27th.
Welcome back to Deconstructing Dallas. Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams. Shawn, I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time. Rarely an episode goes by when I don't say, back when I was working for Chairman Branch, or back when I was, roaming the district with Chairman Branch, or traveling around the state. So I know that our listeners are very familiar with my anecdotes. So excited to have my friend, my mentor, the former state representative and former chair of the House Higher Education Committee. He is Dan Branch joining us today. Mr. Chairman, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ryan and Shawn. It's good to be with you. And I'm glad that you're referencing the hopefully the positive experiences that we had.
It was all positive. All positive. So
yeah.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I know that not all of our listeners, rolled around in my Silverado all around the state with you. So we want to just hear a little bit about you and your background and your family.
Well, I'm grew up as one of five. I grew up in San Antonio and made my way to Dallas eventually for law school. My father was a physician, a neurosurgeon. Mother grew up as a teacher and then a housewife. We had, as I said, five children. I was the middle child of four boys, and then a girl was my parents finally got the girl at the end. And everyone's been, excluding the middle child, everyone's been wildly successful. So I'm happy to report that. And then Stacy and I have been married for 36 years, over 36 years now. We met at SMU when I was in law school and she was an undergrad. I have eventually went on to work after law school with the Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court, which was a great year of service as a judicial clerk, to Jack Pope, who passed at over 100, and I think he was nearly 102 a few years ago. And so that was my first introduction to state government on the judicial branch side, seeing the Texas Supreme Court function, and which was a really, really interesting opportunity. And then had a foray into practicing law in New York City with a large international law firm, Gibson, Dunn and Crutcher. Came back to Dallas eventually, started a family here, and went to work for Baker Botts, an international law firm here, and then ultimately started my own law firm after a brief run for Congress in '91 for special election for the old Jim Collins, Steve Bartlett seat, Congressional District 3, and had about 10 years with Langley and Branch. Worked at that time for then candidate for governor George W. Bush, and ultimately served in the executive branch under him as the chairman of the Public Finance Authority. So I had my sort of introduction to state government on the executive, on the governor's side. And then ultimately we sold Langley and Branch to the Winstead firm, where I now am, have been since 1999. So going on 21 years. And during that time frame in 2003, ran for the State House in 2002 after 9/11, and then was seated in 2003 and stayed in the House until my retirement in 2015. And we, Stacy and I ourselves, we also had 5 children, three boys and 2 girls, and have all sort of grown up now, and we even have 3 granddaughters. So a little bit about my family: still practicing law post-retirement and serving on some nonprofit and for-profit boards, and enjoying my post-legislative years.
Chairman, you referenced being elected in 2002 to the Texas House, and your freshman class was was the first time that the GOP held the Texas House as the majority since Reconstruction. So, just wanted to get your thoughts on that. You're coming into the House, and kind of what that time was like for you.
Yeah, it was an unusual time after 9/11, as you recall. I mean, church attendance was way up. People were wearing flags on their lapels, on their cars.
Right.
Flags at football. I mean, so there was this huge surge of patriotism and sort of all the things that it was a different country for a while. Real coming together after September 11th, 2001, and that created a moment where there was a new seat that had been created by redistricting, and it included all of downtown Dallas and the near north area where I lived, and was suggested by some of the folks, leaders and civic leaders and the Citizens Council, that I consider that seat. And I had been helping our law firm open the Washington, D.C. office after the 2000 election of then Governor Bush, who became President Bush, the 43rd president, and had been served in the Florida recount effort, which is sort of reminiscent of some of the things that we're facing now. And so I had been through that experience in 2000 and 2001, and then 9/11 happened, and it was that summer, right before 9/11, that I had people reached out from Dallas to consider running for the legislature, which I ultimately decided to do, and had an open seat in 2002, went in 2003. And as you said, it was the first Republican majority since the Reconstruction period right after the Civil War. So it's amazing that the Democratic Party had held power in the state house for 132 years, and